Yeah.
But where do you even start?
Yeah,
Well, that's what we're diving into today. Learning how to learn.
that's a good one.
Because no matter what gets you fired up, what you do, having the right strategies changes the game.
Yeah.
So we're looking at two conversations about like turbocharging your learning, how to find that motivation to really master new stuff, make it stick.
And what's really cool, both these sources were on the same page about this. It's not about cramming facts.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
about building like this framework to keep growing, keep discovering.
Love that. And they both talk about motivation, right?
Yeah.
Which makes sense, but it's not always easy to stay motivated when you're starting something new, especially if it's outside your comfort zone.
It's true. And one of them had this really interesting example, actually. A study found that people using language learning apps way more likely to stick with it if they could picture how that language would help their careers, like travel opportunities, connecting with clients, that kind of thing. So it's about linking the learning to a real, tangible goal.
That's so true.
Mm.
I know for me, if I don't see how it connects to my life, my goals,
Mm-hmm.
it's way harder to stay engaged.
For sure. And the other source had a slightly different angle on motivation. They were all about how even just setting aside the time for learning, even 15 minutes a day, that can kickstart the momentum. It's like it becomes a habit, then that habit itself gets you motivated.
Like that don't break the chain idea.
Exactly.
Even small efforts consistently add up.
Big time.
Okay, but let's talk time management, because that's got to be a hurdle for so many people, right?
Yep.
We're so busy. How do you actually find the time to learn something new?
Well, one of the sources had a suggestion, super practical. I actually use it myself, the Pomodoro technique.
I've heard the name. Not sure I know how it works, though.
It's almost too simple, but man, is it effective. 25 minutes, focused work, which in this case is learning, then a 5-minute break.
Yeah.
You do that 4 times, then a longer break.
So you're breaking it down into these manageable chunks, and the breaks stop you from burning out.
You got it. And those 25 minutes, phone's on airplane mode, close those extra tabs. Got to create that focus space.
That would be huge. Even if I carved out an hour, did that technique, I could get through so much more.
Oh, for sure. And the other source is big on scheduling, like block out that learning time in your calendar.
Really?
Yeah, like the meeting can't be moved.
Treat it like a non-negotiable part of my schedule.
It is. You're investing in yourself. And speaking of investments, let's talk about the benefits of learning, because both sources had so much good to say here.
Let's get to the good stuff.
Yeah.
Right, we often focus so much on the how that we kind of forget about the why.
It happens. Easy to get stuck in the day-to-day, but we got to remember why we're doing this. And both sources were clear. Learning has those immediate perks, but also the long game.
Okay, give me an example. What kind of immediate benefits?
One of them said that learning any new skill, even just starting, can boost your focus and productivity in other parts of your life too. Like a mental workout strengthens those brain muscles.
So it's not just about what you learn, but the act of learning itself making your brain stronger.
Exactly. And long term, the benefits are even bigger. We're talking sharper thinking, better memory,
Okay,
even a lower risk of, cognitive decline as we get older.
right. Those are some serious long-term benefits. Starting to feel smarter already. But let's be real, learning's not always a walk in the park, right? Sometimes it feels like a grind.
Oh, absolutely. And that's where one of the most surprising things from these conversations comes in. Both sources actually talked about learning as a form of self-care and relaxation.
Wait, really?
Hmm.
Learning to relax? That sounds kind of off, doesn't it?
Right. But one of them put it like this. When we're truly into learning something, especially if it's something we genuinely enjoy, our brains enter this flow state.
Like being in the zone.
Exactly. And in that state, worries fade away, anxieties, we're just present. Incredibly calming.
That makes sense. When I'm lost in a good book or a project, I lose track of time, everything else. It's almost meditative.
It's like the world around you just disappears.
Yeah.
And you're just totally there in that learning headspace.
Yes. It's a great feeling.
Yeah.
Which I guess speaks to like choosing stuff that really clicks with you personally. If you're forcing it, it's never going to feel relaxing or fun.
For sure. Passion is huge for motivation. Makes a big difference in how much you enjoy it and how much actually sticks with you.
Okay, but how do you tap into that? What if someone's listening and they're like, I don't even know where to start. I haven't felt passionate about learning something new in ages.
Love that question. One of the sources had this cool idea. Think back to when you were a kid. What were you drawn to? What did you love learning, even if it wasn't for school?
Oh, I love that. I used to spend hours in the library as a kid reading about dinosaurs, ancient civilizations.
Yeah.
I was obsessed.
There you go. That's a clue, right? Maybe it's time to revisit that stuff or see what's connected to it now.
It's so easy to get stuck in our adult routines and forget what fascinated us as kids. Okay, so say we found some things we're interested in, feeling motivated, even blocked out the time. What are some tactical tips to make that learning time really count?
One source had this analogy. They said, trying to absorb too much at once, it's like drinking from a fire hose.
You'll get soaked, but you won't absorb much.
Exactly. Got to break it down. Smaller, manageable chunks. Don't try to learn everything at once.
So instead of, I'm going to read this whole astrophysics textbook, it's, today I'm learning about this one type of star.
There you go. And another tip, don't just passively read or listen. Actively engage. Take notes. Highlight. Summarize in your own words.
So true. If I don't take notes, it's like the information just disappears.
Brains remember better when we're actively working with the material. And speaking of remembering better, let's talk about repeating things.
Practice makes perfect, right?
Exactly. Both sources were all about how repetition is key to moving info from short-term to long-term memory.
So just getting it once isn't enough. You got to revisit it for it to stick.
Yeah, and this is where people trip up. They wait too long between study sessions.
So if I learn something today, I should look at it again tomorrow and then again a few days later.
You got it. Spaced repetition. Super powerful for remembering. There are even apps that'll schedule it for you.
Gotta love technology. Definitely checking those out. Okay, so we've got breaking down info, active engagement, repetition. Anything else to help us learn better?
One source suggested teaching what you've learned to someone else.
I love that. I've totally had times where I didn't really get something till I tried explaining it to someone.
Right. When you teach, you have to make it clear, concise, and that actually helps you understand it better, too.
Plus, you might help someone else learn something new.
Win-win. And on that note of sharing and teamwork, another good one is finding a learning buddy or a study group.
Study buddies make it so much more fun.
Right. It's not just about having someone to keep you on track. You can bounce ideas around, ask questions, get different perspectives.
Like a built-in support system for your learning.
Totally. Sometimes you're stuck, and all it takes is hearing it explained a little differently for things to click.
Had those aha moments in study groups, for sure. Okay, so we've talked about a lot, finding your passion, realistic goals, techniques for memory. But isn't there something to be said for mindset, too?
100%. Both sources said that the right mindset is crucial for learning.
Yeah, it's like you can have the best tools, but if you don't think you can use them, you're not going to get very far.
It's so true. And one of the sources talked about this growth mindset, basically believing that you can get better at learning.
That is not fixed. You're not just born with a certain amount of learning ability.
Exactly. You can develop it through practice and effort, all that. And the other source had this tip for actually making that shift from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset.
Okay, I like this.
Focus on what you're doing, not just the end result.
So instead of did I get an A, it's am I putting in the effort? Am I making progress?
Yeah, because even if you don't get that outcome right away, you're still learning, right? And those small wins along the way, like mastering a new concept, understanding something better, that's what keeps you going.
So true. It's easy to get discouraged if you're only looking at that final goal. But if you can enjoy the process, the actual learning, that's when it gets really rewarding.
100%. And this is another mindset shift. Think of mistakes as chances to learn.
Instead of ugh, I messed up.
Totally. Because let's be honest, we learn way more from messing up than we do from getting it perfect the first time.
Yeah.
Mistakes show you where you need to improve, how to change your approach.
The master has failed more times than the beginner has even tried, right?
Exactly. So next time you make a mistake, don't sweat it. Just think, okay, what did I learn from that? How can I use this going forward?
That's a good point. We're all human. We all make mistakes, but it's what we do with them, right? Okay, so we covered a lot today, from finding your passion to those nitty-gritty techniques like that spaced repetition, and even cultivating the right mindset. Where does it all lead? What's the takeaway?
It's been quite a journey. I think the main thing is learning how to learn better. It never really ends. It's about trying different things out, finding what clicks for you, and just never losing that curiosity.
And don't forget, you don't have to do it alone. Find a learning buddy, a group. Surround yourself with people who challenge you, inspire you.
Yes. Learning together is so powerful. We can learn so much from each other.
Absolutely. So on that note, we're going to wrap up this deep dive into the art and science of learning how to learn. It's a meta one.
It really is. It's been great exploring this with you.
Likewise. And to everyone listening, we hope you got some good stuff out of this, some tools to power up your own learning journeys. Until next time, keep exploring, keep growing, and keep those minds engaged.